everyone, this is Fantasy-esque, and welcome back to Season 2 of Royal Clan in ClanGen, the Warrior Cats clan generated game. Now, when we left off in the previous episode, Hemlock had moved into the royal nursery in preparation to have her litter. And guys, I got a little bit too excited and a bit too impatient, and I might have nudged us a little bit further ahead than I intended. And we are actually picking up the moon after she has had her kittens, because I wanted to see them with their eyes nice and open. I just couldn't contain myself. We've been waiting a long time, and we needed to move on. So, this is exactly where we are at. You might notice that the clan is looking a little bit different right now, because we actually have 3 royal kittens running around the nursery, and we also have a new she-cat that has been brought in for our next pairing, so I kind of lucked out on that as well. And you might also notice that our apprentice, Fierce Paw, has had her warrior ceremony, and she is now like a young adult. So yeah, we need to take a look at all of those things in a second over here, but it's so nice. It's so nice to see our cats growing and the clan growing. Makes me so happy. So happy. But okay, without further ado, it is the second turn of New Leaf. So I only actually played, one episode off camera. Oh, not one episode, one moon. I skipped the one moon off camera. And so, like I said, we're picking out, it was moon 107 when we left off. It is now moon 109. So we only didn't see like the one in between, 108. But okay, it is now moon 109. Quickly jumping into the leader's den, we can see that we have all of our alliances maintained by Queen Rainstar. And to events. When Royal Clan finds her, Flower is highly skeptical of her old clanmate's offer to return. The clanmates that drove her from her nest, from her home, now wanted to return. Warily, Flower allows herself to be led back to camp, so we kind of lucked out on this. It just took us one moon to find her. And of course we know that Flower is one of our servant clan cats, but she's been wandering around the forest, and we have managed to track her down. I think she must have come to the grotto, perhaps injured, and maybe thought that she would... I don't remember her specific story, but I know she came a long while back, around the time I think we discovered Rainstar. And I can kind of see how she might have expected to be elevated straight to nobility and come in, but she was actually relegated to servant clan. Now, though, Queen Rainstar has elevated her to nobility and she's joining us. A little bit wary, but I guess she was open to the idea, so I'm really happy to have her with us. And then Flarefreckle was attacked by a group of rats. She managed to fight them off but didn't escape unscathed, and now I know that that's probably because we were having an excess of food, and that typically attracts rats. Flarefreckle has also gotten a running nose, Garlic Glow has gotten a stomach ache, Queen Rainstar has gotten a running nose, River Whistle slipped on some rocks and dislocated his leg, which is not good, and then our ceremony for Fierce Paw. River Whistle sits in the crowd, chest puffed out in pride as he watches Fierce Paw be named Fierce Stripe, which I have now renamed to Fierce Tooth and honored for her tranquility. He considers himself lucky to have been able to train such an amazing young cat, and looks forward to seeing the warrior she becomes, which is so cool. But yeah, she is now Fierce Tooth. So let's take a look at our various cats, guys. Hemlock has also aged up into a senior now, because she is now 122 moons old. So yeah, she's a senior. And Bear Pelt is also a senior adult. So it's kind of surprising that they managed to have a litter of 3, but somehow they managed to. And the funny thing is, I was actually, when I was picturing their litter, I assumed, for me in my head, I was seeing a litter of 3. But I wasn't expecting the litter to have the coat colors that it did. I thought the entire litter would have black or dark brown pelts, but I kind of like the variation we ended up getting, and it makes sense because Hemlock is a tortie, so I'm sure some of these other genes were hidden in there somewhere. So they actually ended up having, guys, I'm gonna hold off a little bit. I'll look at the kittens lost. But yeah, Hemlock, guys, she's a senior. Look at her, she's a senior. Oh, and her pelt looks so pretty. And then Flower. So Flower over here is the new she-cat that's been brought in, a senior adult female with pale yellow eyes and a smoke pelt. She is cold and has a keen eye, is a good teacher. Now, along with her arrival, things have changed in the Queen's court. Queen Rainstar has given Flower a position as the new royal physician, which means Icicle Speck has been demoted essentially to being a matchmaker, and Inkfeather has left the Queen's Court because she's no longer needed. And now the Queen's Court is almost entirely made up of the nobles that were elevated from, servant backgrounds, which I think is quite interesting. So there is that. And Rainstar, she's decided that Flower is going to be matched with Quill Runner. So yeah, that is why Flower has been brought in, guys, to be matched up with Quill Runner for the next litter, which means that Icicle Speck is going to have to break it off with Quill Runner. Because that is something, and hopefully this means that Icicle Speck will be able to focus more on himself and Garliclo, his soulmate. And Quill Runner, even though his heart is leading in two directions right now, he's in love with Icicle Speck and made it to him. He's also in love with Inkfeather, but he is going to be paired up now with Flower, so we're going to have to see if anything comes of that and what's going to happen, but it's definitely going to cause some drama in terms of the relationships that's going to touch. So there is that. Let's take a look at Fierce Tooth, who just had her ceremony. So Fierce Tooth, guys, has retained her insecure personality, and she is a lore keeper, which I think is really fun. So let's take a look at how she was influenced. She was mentored by River Whistle. River Whistle influenced her to be more likely to avoid a fight and break away from the status quo. River Whistle helped to become better at remembering lore. When she graduated, she was honored for her tranquility. Now, in terms of her name and her personality, it is the very opposite of her personality, but I actually love the idea that Fierce Tooth, she obviously was born with a lot of kind of expectations that her parents had for her, and part of naming her Fierce was to help her maybe overcome the struggles a lot of the female kittens have had within our clan, dying before they reach adulthood, not lasting long into adulthood. Her parents were hoping that she would not be like those female cats, those daughters of the clan that never made it. And since she was an only child, I think that probably fueled it a bit more. And then throughout her apprentice days, I think, Fierce Tooth, she ended up in a lot of situations that were kind of high risk, very dangerous and stressful, and yet every single time she kept herself well composed and she managed to get out of it alive and unscathed. And I think even though she is quite insecure, her being named Fierce Tooth is kind of part of that it's part of that legacy almost that she has built for herself, where she is able to fight against the unknown, and she's able to fight against it despite her insecurities and her shortcomings. So I really like that name for her. And then with the way she was influenced, I can kind of see how River Whistle would kind of tell her that if you're not confident in your abilities to engage with danger, don't engage with danger. Find a way around it, find a way to observe it and be aware of it. And then breaking away from the status quo, you might be different from other apprentices that have come before you and might come after, but you don't have to feel pressure to be like them. Be your own self and own your own self. So I really like that. I think even though she kept the insecurity and wasn't able to break out of it, I think River Whistle was probably the ideal mentor for her because she did learn a lot from him. So there we go with Fierce Tooth. And then, guys, let's take a look at our kittens. Because yes, Hemlock and Bearpelt had 3 wonderful kittens. And they had 3 boys. I know, our luck, right? 3 boys. And I was actually excited for and open to and waiting for a girl, but no, they had 3 boys. Thankfully, we can get on with the next pairing But yeah, we have Lion Kit, Lotus Kit, and Scorch Kit. Lotus Kit, I think, is my favorite of the litter, and I'll tell you guys in a second, because it might not be too apparent right now. But first up, we have Lion Kit. He is an attention seeker that is quick to help. He has green yellow eyes, which he gets from his mother, and a rosette pelt. Then we have his brother, Lotus Kit, who is impulsive, quick to help. He has heterochromia eyes. He has one green yellow eye from his mother, and he has one sunlit ice eye from his father. Like, how cool is that? I think this is the first cat in this particular clan, in Royal Clan, that we have with heterochromia eyes. So I'm very, very excited. And he has a marbled pelt. Like, how cute is that? Like, come on. Come on. Ah, I love it. I don't know what it is, the browns. I love the brown pelts, but especially on him. Oh, and those eyes makes him so unique. There's only one, I don't know how many times we've had heterochromia. I can only remember one distinct cat with heterochromia eyes. That was in Luminous Clan, Godzilla, if you guys remember. Godzilla was a very troublemaking, I think he was actually a troublemaker, but he was an outsider brought in for breeding, and he took over as leader, and then he sent our clan into an age of war that we could not get out of, and he was basically the beginning of the end. He was the beginning of a path that ended up destroying our clan. But yeah, and I remember he had one, I think, sunlit ice eye, and I don't remember the other color, but Lotus Kit? Lotus Kit? I'm excited for you. And finally, the youngest of the three, we have Scorch Kit, who is polite, quick to help. He has green yellow eyes from his mother and a Bengal pelt, I think from his father. So yeah, he looks the most like his father, which is adorable. And all three of these kittens, they have 2 royal bloodlines from the 1st and 7th founding royals. And actually that 1st and 7th founding royal, a lot of our cats now have those bloodlines. I'm pretty sure Cool Runner has that bloodline, Fierce Tooth has that bloodline, and now these 3 have those bloodlines. So we've got like 5 cats from the newest generations who have the bloodlines for the 1st and 7th royals. Which is quite fascinating. And actually, if I want to check, who were the 1st and 7th royals? Buttercup Fin and Canary Star. So their legacy lives on like very, very well. They have look at the amount of grandkids they have. One of them's passed on, but they have a ton. Which means that, Lion Kit, Lotus Kit, and Scorch Kit, they have cousins in Fierce Tooth and Quill Runner. They have an aunt in Flare Freckle. They have an uncle in Shining Stripe. And that is just way too cute. Way too cute. And if we take a look at the descriptors over here, Lion Kit is an unusually spotted ginger tom. Lotus Kit is a brown tabby tom, and Scorch Kit is an unusually dappled black tom. So we had a ginger kitten, a brown kitten, and a black kitten, which is kind of cool. Kind of cool. I was not expecting like these colors. I thought all the kittens would come out really dark, but no. So yeah, that's my favorite. I think Lotus Kit probably looks the most unique, even in the clan as a whole. Actually, he looks the most unique in the clan as a whole. So I think for that reason, I do feel more attached to him. And he's got the special eyes. Like, come on, guys. He's got the special eyes. So that's definitely going to be my kitten to look out for. And I actually, right now, before I forget, want to check to see, because I didn't do this in the last moon. I didn't check to see who the favorite kittens were, but I want to check this time around for the parents. First up, we'll look at Hemlock. Who is her favorite child? Scorch Kit. Okay, so her youngest son, who is polite and looks the most like Bear Pelt, is the one that is her favorite child, her favorite son. And then for Bear Pelt, his favorite child is Lion Kit. Okay, so the attention-seeking, his oldest son, who is attention-seeking, is his favorite. And that means my favorite Lotus Kit is the forgotten child. Oh, he's the forgotten middle child. So yeah, Scorch Kit is the mother's favorite, Lion Kit is the father's favorite, and Lotus Kit is a forgotten child. And you know what? Lion Kit is attention-seeking. and Bear Pelt is shameless, so I can kind of see how he would like the attention of his oldest son, because he's the type of cat that just like revels in that. And then Scorch Kid is, you know, polite and quiet, and I think that maybe works better with Hemlock because she's lonesome. She sticks kind of... Hold on a second, she's become lonesome? Because she was not lonesome before. She was cunning. But okay, that makes sense. Now that she's older, she's become lonesome. She wants to like stick more to herself, and she doesn't like being bothered. And so her youngest son, who's polite and quiet, she kind of likes that, finds it more soothing. Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense, but it's okay, Lotus Kid. I will impulsively love you because of your eyes. Yes, don't worry about it. Don't even worry about it. So that's kind of what we have in terms of catching up with like all the changes that have happened with the clan. So let's check up on the Medicine Cat Den. And it seems as though Flower actually, I think, is going to be pretty good at her role because she can already care for up to like 21 members. I remember when Hemlock was looking after the cats, she could only look after 16 and then eventually 17. So, you know, she wasn't the most inclined for being a royal physician, but Flower definitely is because this is the same amount of cats that Icicle Speck can look after. But Flare Freckle has a rat bite and a running nose, which is not good. River Whistle has a dislocated joint. I don't know what it is with our recent mentors getting into trouble like just before their apprentices become warriors, but in the last batch we had Cinnamon Tail's mentor died before his, like Frostfade literally died before his ceremony. This time around, River Whistle thankfully didn't die, but he had like a really bad accident and got a dislocated joint, but he still made it to the ceremony, so that's good. Yeah, Hemlock is recovering from birth. These guys have minor things. So running nose, and a stomach ache over here. So she, has just been elevated to this status of nobility, to this role of royal physician, and to the Queen's Court. And now she has like so much work to do to prove herself, but that's okay. I think she'll be fine. Okay, let's take a look at the log. Foxclaw was given Poppy as treatment for running nose. Hemlock was given Moss as treatment for recovering from birth. And Icicle Speck gathered Lungwort, Thyme, and Poppy this moon. Okay, that seems great. Let's take a look at our relationships. Jeez, okay. Icicle Speck talks all the time about Fierce Paw. Icicle Speck doesn't think there's ever a dull moment with Lotus Kit. Let's see. Icicle Speck goes out of his way to catch Garlic Glow's favorite prey. Yeah, okay, so he's spending more time with his soulmate, and I think breaking off with Quill Runner is going to help his relationship more. Because I think Garlic Glow, we talked about this recently, Garlic Glow wasn't expecting things to go in that direction, and she has been seeking company elsewhere because of it, even if she tries to seem okay about it, so I think this will be better for them. Scorch Kid makes a small sacrifice that benefits his uncle Shining Stripe. Shining Stripe comforts Ghost Feather after a terrible nightmare. A clanmate accuses Flare Freckle of copying one of Garlic Glow's jokes. Flare Freckle helps Cinnamon Tail with something he was struggling with. Bear Pelt decides to be the bigger cat and plans to make amends with Cinnamon Tail. River Whistle has to help Bear Pelt stop choking on a huge bone. Inkfeather wishes she looked more like Flare Freckle. Inkfeather and Cinnamon Tail chat idly about the latest meeting. Quill Runner wants to ask a clanmate to eat with him, but they're busy with Fierce Paw. Quill Runner and Lion Kit notice a cloud is shaped like a bird. So all the cousins are spending time together. Foxclaw thinks Bear Pelt is very helpful. Foxclaw and Fierce Paw joke around about how bad the other clans smell. Ghostfeather caught Freezefur rolling his eyes after Ghostfeather asked for help. Ghostfeather and Scorch Kit spend a few minutes complimenting one another. Freezefur listens to Shining Stripe's big plans for the day. Lion Kid says something in passing that Freezefur keeps getting worked up about. Garlic Glow stumbles upon Icicle Speck looking at the stars with wonder in his eyes. Quill Runner brings Garlic Glow herbs from the medicine den for a headache. Garlic Glow purrs for a long time at one of Icicle Speck's lame jokes. And I find it interesting that Quill Runner is bringing Garlic Glow herbs. Like, he's being nice to her, obviously, because in his in his mind and from his perspective, Garlic Glow is the one who enabled him being together with Icicle Speck, because she is Icicle Speck's first mate and soulmate. But I don't think he realizes that she kind of doesn't feel that positively towards him. Like, it was meant to be this huge joke, this prank on Icicle Speck, but then he said yes and it became serious. But now she can't, like, go back on her word. Queen Rainstar warns River Whistle about something on the ground so River Whistle doesn't trip. Queen Rainstar notices that Ghost Feather is always one of the first to volunteer for a difficult task. Flower has a friendly chat with Foxclaw that leaves them both feeling happy. Flower asks Ghost Feather to watch a fresh kill so she can go to the dirt place. Cinnamon Tail realizes that Fierce Paw would put her life on the line for a clanmate. River Whistle warns Flower about something on the ground so Flower doesn't trip. River Whistle, Quillbrenner, and Bear Pelt had a nice talk while eating. Hemlock and River Whistle perk up happily when they see each other. A clanmate tells Hemlock that Cinnamon Tail's stories are better. And this is when Fierce Paw had her ceremony, and then she became Fierce Tooth. Fierce Tooth is sparring with Bear Pelt. Cinnamon Tail gets a bug off of Lion Kit's pelt and takes it out of camp. Lotus Kit and Ghost Feather bring each other prey, and then Scorch Kit is complaining that River Whistle never does anything helpful. So from the look of it, Lion Kit, Lotus Kit, and Scorch Kit, they're definitely the kinds of cats that are kind of all over the place and they're interacting with everyone, which I love it. Because in the litter with Cinnamon Tail and his brother River Whistle, I remember Cinnamon Tail always being the talkative one, always been the one kind of interacting with other cats, but his brother used to be always kind of reserved and in the shadows. This time around, it seems like all the boys are really happy to be doing things constantly around camp. So that's kind of nice. But okay, that is all we have for events. It was definitely a lot of things and a lot of talking, but let's wrap up over here and move on to the cat list. Okay, let's continue with the cat list. So first up, we have loyalties, where there has been an update because we know that Fierce Tooth has aged up into a young adult, which means now we'll get to know her political inclinations. And guys, Fierce Tooth is a loyalist of Queen Rainstar, which is not surprising because Rainstar is her mother. So I think Rainstar had a bit of advantage in that way, but I mean, she could have grown apart from her mother in all this time. She did not, though. I don't think Fierce Tooth is as close to her father, Shining Stripe, as she is to mother, because I keep forgetting that Shining Stripe is her sire, but you know, that is the case. So that was one thing. In terms of relationships, I think enough has probably happened in the clan of late that they feel the need to not have drama. Everyone's been too caught up with like the birth of the kittens and the apprentice having the ceremony and Flower coming in that nobody's really causing a lot of drama within themselves. But I had only, one cat. I had one cat that had something for me to report back, and that was Icicle Speck. Icicle Speck, guys, quite unexpectedly, now hates Ghost Feather. That makes him the second cat to actually hate Ghost Feather in the clan. Flare Freckle is the other cat, but we know that right now she has a bit of mixed feelings towards him because she hates him, but she's also attracted to him. Now, Icicle Speck, I couldn't figure out exactly why this might be the case, so if you guys have any suggestions, let me know. If I've missed something, perhaps. All I could work out from their history together, like their recent history, is, Icicle Speck, he got congratulated by the clan members for something that was important to him, but Ghost Feather didn't bother to do that, probably because Ghost Feather doesn't pay too much attention to those kind of things. His adventures, he's got a wandering soul. Whereas Icicle Speck, who's responsible, who's a lot more, I think, hunkered down, he feels like there are times in life when cats go through important things and, out of respect, the other clan members should acknowledge that and give them well wishes, which Ghost Feather didn't, and Icicle Speck didn't like that. And then more recently, he noticed like a strange smell in camp was coming from Ghost Feather, probably because Ghost Feather went out and maybe, he got mud or something on him, and instead of cleaning up, he kind of just wandered into camp. And Icicle Speck, he's been trying to keep everything nice and organized, especially because we have the kittens now, and I don't think he appreciates the kind of free living that Ghost Fella does. It's like a bit too irresponsible because it's only encompassing himself and not everyone as a whole. So yeah, Icicle Speck does not like Ghost Fella, and that is like the only new thing that kind of happened. So now I think we can go into making some changes and our match. So Rainstar, she has kind of laid down the law that Flower is going to be matched up with Quill Runner, which means Icicle Speck does have to break it off with Quill Runner. So first thing is going to be that. Sorry, no, wrong cat. Where is Quill Runner? Right, over here. Right, so he is going to break it off with Quill Runner. And this might... I feel like Quill Runner would take this a lot harder than Icicle Speck. This is actually, hopefully, going to clean up the relationships for Icicle Speck. And Garlic Glow is, I think, going to be really happy with this because now things are finally back to normal and she has Icicle Speck back to herself. And then Flower is going to be paired up with Quill Runner. And oh, it seems as though these two cats are actually compatible. I mean, I know Quill Runner is in love with Inkfeather as well. So, his heart is going in two very different directions. But if he's compatible with Flower and they are able to kind of work it out between the two of them, then he might finally find someone that is kind of his without having to compete with others, without having to kind of go back and forth, or someone who might develop feelings at the same pace as him. So I'm kind of excited for this. I mean, Flower, yes, she's cold, but because Quill Runner is loyal, he might be the one doing a little bit of the heavy lifting in this relationship, and he's going to be able to kind of take her coldness and give his own warmth in turn. So okay, I'm excited for the two of them. And I mean, she's a ginger cat, he's a black, I think he counts as a black and white cat, so it would be interesting to see the kittens they have between them as well. And with the dark blue eyes, the pale yellow eyes, I think it's gonna be quite nice. So let's go ahead, jump over to Icicle Speck with these two cats. And they do have 2 bars of romance, so right now they are considering each other. And I mean, Quill Runner knows, he knows that this is kind of the way of the clan, and that I think every royal is honored by the idea of having, their own litter. It is something that is essential to them as royals. That is the whole reason for this whole clan, is to kind of preserve those royal bloodlines, to grow and preserve those royal bloodlines. So let's see. I need to enable that you can have kids. And then let's go ahead, see if we can get you guys romantic. Okay, comfort, trust, respect, platonic like, and romance has increased, dislike has decreased. So Flower is looking at Quill Runner, and I think, Flower is cold, but I think she likes what she sees in Quill Runner. She likes his loyalty, and I feel like oftentimes cold people, in this case cold cats, they can be habituated to company and warmth. I mean, a lot of the times it could be something that they want, but they don't actively or openly seek. So I can kind of see how Quill Runner giving her attention without her asking for it is something that she probably appreciates. And likewise, Quill Runner is, seeing her as a cat that he can have a litter with, and I think he approves of her quite a bit. Even, with Icicle Speck, obviously he can't have kittens with Icicle Speck, and then his love for Inkfeather, yes, it's there, but Inkfeather has already had her own litter. So, she's kind of lived that part of life, so he would never be able to have a litter with her. Whereas with Flower, she's the first kind of female he's looked at in this way, in terms of expanding his own bloodline and family, and I think so far he likes what he sees. And who knows, he might be encouraged by the fact, as this relationship progresses, that because Flower is cold, she's not going to stray too far from him. She's kind of going to, stay just, her feelings might not wander too much and might not get too curious about other cats because she finds it difficult to get close to other cats or let other cats get close to her, and so he'll be kind of the only cat that she allows that to happen with or allows into her vicinity in that way. But okay, things have started off on a good note between Flower and Quill Runner, which has me quite excited. Now let's go ahead and see what the cats are doing for the day. Queen Rainstar is proud of how far she has come from a kitty pet life. Hemlock is assigning cats to the Dawn Patrol. Flower is grunting rudely at passers-by. Okay. Icicle Speck is tending some growing herbs. Inkfeather is always ready to take on a threat to protect the clan. Shining Stripe doesn't want to go on patrol with Fierce Paw, so he must definitely be dreaming about his niece still being a little apprentice. Flare Freckle thought she saw a cat, but turns out it's a two-legged object that just looks like one. Bear Pelt is looking forward to finding more prey as the snow melts. Quill Runner is thinking about a strange two-legged object he saw recently. Ghost Feather wants to go hunt. Foxclaw is relieved Leaf Bear is finally over. Freeze Fur saw a two-legged kid playing with a dog. River Whistle tries to breathe deeply to no avail. Cinnamon Tail thinks that he is the fastest runner in the clan. Fierce Tooth plans to visit the medicine cat. Okay, so she wants to visit Flower, the new female who's come in. Garlic Glow is grateful to Inkfeather for her medication. Mediation. Mediation. And then I suppose this was just before Inkfeather stepped down. Lion Kit enjoys the warmth of New Leaf. Lotus Kid is soaking in the New Leaf warmth. Scorch Kid is asking Freeze for an important question. Okay, so that is all we have for the cats. Let's wrap up over here and move on to patrols. Okay, let's continue with our patrols. We currently have 93.9 prey and we need 45.5. So first up, we are going to be sending Flower, our new addition, our newest royal physician. So let's see what she gets up to. With New Leaf bringing Ragwort back on the medicinal menu, Flower heads out to find where the silly plants have decided to sprout this year. Also, speaking of the name Flower, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but I grew up watching a show called Meerkat Manor, and I fell in love with meerkats from that show. And one of the main meerkats, like the leader, I can't remember of like what the group's name was, but the leader, the alpha female, her name was Flower, and she was a character. She was such a cool character. But Flower reminds me of that. But let's proceed. In New Leaf, with most ragwort plants still flowerless, they're a little more bearable to harvest, the foul scent of their petals not yet muddying the air. Ragwort was gathered, and to be honest, I can't remember where I watched those shows. I'm pretty sure I watched them on YouTube. I don't know if YouTube still has the Meerkat Manor episodes, but I would love to have, like, if they have, like, a CD or something, you know? I don't even care if it's a CD, but if they have something like that, because I don't want to subscribe to another streaming platform that might have it, but, you know, it would be so nice to have, like, a copy of that show. It was such a good show, and because I was watching, I think, on YouTube, not all the episodes were kind of on there, so it was, like, a little bit patchy, but, that, honestly, I think maybe that's why I like ClanGen so much, is because the way that, you know, we go through the kittens, the nursery, even the fact that we call the kits, and, like, a whole lot of things, like them going out on patrols, finding food. I like it so much because it feels exactly like the show, where you had the meerkats, you had the different roles within the clan, you had, you know, different relationships between the cats, like you had drama between the cats, and then the families that were expanding, and a lot of the times it was just like, you know, breeding within the clan, or rather than that, I should say, it's like the alpha couple having their kittens, and then the kids growing up and helping to raise the next litter of kittens, and then sometimes some of their kids would get pregnant with like a roving male's offspring, and then the drama of that. But, you know, very rarely would the cats break away to start their own little clans. But it reminds me of Meerkat Manor, and I think a lot of my love for the way ClanGen works comes from that. Okay, let's go ahead. Enough of my ramblings of Meerkat Manor, but let's go ahead and actually do our patrols. So we'll have a patrol of 6 and a patrol of 4. So first up we have Ghost Feather, Queen Rainstar, Foxclaw, Shining Stripe, Ink Feather, and Fierce Tooth. This is Fierce Tooth's first patrol as a young adult, so let's see how things go. As the patrol gathers together to train under Queen Rainstar's leadership, Shining Stripe, his soulmate, admits he thinks he had a vision from Star Clan last night. Proceed, no one can make sense of the vision. And finally we have a patrol of 4 with Cinnamon Tail, Freeze Fur, Quill Runner, and Bear Pelt. So let's see what they get up to. As the patrol is checking the borderlines, they hear an odd sound coming from a nearby bush. Proceed, Freeze Fur drops down into a hunting crouch, certain that a mouse must be the source of the noise. He finds himself to be correct when he pounces into the bush and returns to the patrol with a tasty morsel dangling from his jaws. So a small amount of prey is brought to camp. So now we have 109.9 prey, which is pretty cool. But okay guys, with that said and done, I am going to leave off here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.